All right, guys, there's a lot of talk going on. Will Chris Grier respond to the influx of receiver talent to the AFC East? And there's a good one by Dudley Durong. Check it out. Great guy. He talks about Will. And then Reason, I know, is talking about a bunch of different things. Sometimes being a monkey is not always what it's cracked up to be. ADD, no glasses, and being flustered over tech issues yesterday. Which, speaking of, sorry guys, the last 2 days I saw this button on a software. It says AI, like speech correct. So I just hit it and maxed it out. And I noticed now that the audio was glitchy on the last two, so it won't happen again. Thanks, Bruce, for telling me about that. So anyway, I was flustered yesterday. I didn't have my glasses on. I got ADD, and I saw Reason say, you guys are complaining about Grier trading for Hill, and then somehow I attached, but the Bills and Jets, they're making their thing, and somehow I just pastiched this whole thing together. But basically, Reason was saying, you're complaining about Grier trading for Hill, but now you complain about him not making trade moves now. And so it's kind of like it's conflicting of responses. I screwed up and I was like, I thought he meant like Hill. Complain about Hill, trading for Hill, but then the Bills and the Jets trade for their guys and you're not complaining. That's not what he said. I totally screwed up, did my mea culpa. Anyway, so Reason's a good guy. Doug's a good guy. Check their stuff about, Grier should or should not. And then will he make the trade? But those are side issues, really. I'm not saying they're not important. I think they are. What I want to cover here is can. And the can part ties into a greater NFL cycle. And I'm going to show you some stuff, and something's to be very, very clear. I was always a Dolphins fan, like a diehard. Like a lot of you people, like make fun of the Hopium people or say I'm not a Hopium guy. I was like the Hopium master. And then a couple of years ago, I started writing for the Dolphins, and I was doing my micro Hopium thing. I found myself being wrong. And then when I came to do this thing, Ace Per Head, my awesome sponsor, wanted me to cover all the teams. I haven't done it for a while. I could get a little mad at me. I got to do it. But I started studying other teams, and all of a sudden the NFL, the game of football, began to become clearer in my mind, and my accuracy started rising a ton, especially my accuracy as far as seeing the Dolphins clearly. And so I want to show you today and go over the moves that are being talked about, the moves that have been made, and you're going to see something very clearly, and it's going to speak about whether Grier can or cannot respond through trades to what's happening with the Bills. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bills and the Jets build and our build. And you're going to see Grier really can't do anything. He can't. But it's going to say something clearly about what Grier has done. And it's going to help you understand the greater NFL cycle of things. Okay? So, an old saying, I'm not saying to apply it 100% here, but it's like if a rich man is trying to sell you something, it's soon to be worth nothing. And if a rich man is trying to buy something from you, it's soon going to be worth a lot. And I'm not saying it's 100%, but what it's saying is somebody who is really good at a particular thing, if they're trying to send something to you, they usually know more than you, and it's not going to be the best move for you. But conversely, if you have something and somebody is really a master at something or really on point with something, they see the value that you might not. And so I want to get into that. One little note, check me out last night. I played a little bit of a Grinch with Steve Malloy on his channel, his live. Go check it out. I had a good time. It's just really hard for me to see the positive. I want it. Miss Finns was on it, and she's so positive, so nice. I used to be like that. But for me, my evaluation is core values. But anyway, just check that out. Going to get the live up tonight. Going to call you guys. But that's the thing. Guys, the likes, subscribes, comments, and views really, really help me out. So please continue with that. So we in the AFC East saw Amari Cooper from the Browns go to the Bills. And then we saw Davante Adams go from Vegas to the Jets. But we have to understand that not everything is like 1 + 1 with them. Actually, very little is. So you have the Bills who have their quarterback. They've also invested in the offensive line, which again is healthy, and so they got the offensive line. And then really after that, it's the tight end is the next most valuable piece. And so they've got some receivers there, but they need the big dog. And they're getting Amari Cooper, who they like because of his separation. He's a real talent. I don't know if something hasn't always jived for him to be the guy he could be, but clearly he's good. He's got a lot of talent. But they got him for a 3rd-round pick. That's not chump change, but it's almost chump change considering they need this piece very bad, and they've kind of set the floor together. Then you look at the Jets. They invested heavy on their offensive line. It all kind of hasn't panned out. I think if you look at their scheme, it puts them, that offensive line, not in the best light. They do a lot of shotgun. I think if they would be under center more, it would help out. I'm not going to get into a bigger thing, but they've got talent on that offensive line. They got a little bit of depth. They don't really have the tight end. They got a bunch of guys. They got the stud Ola receiver, and their defense is pretty stacked aside from the middle where they're weak. But they got Davante Adams, who is like the blood brother of their quarterback, who they went all in on. And it's a 3rd-round conditional pick. It could become a 2nd, but still it's kind of chump change considering how valuable he is to the prize. So their GMs understood what they needed, and it was receiver, and they were able to acquire it. You might say Davante could be a little high, but overall, it's not what we paid. We paid 2 first-round picks on Waddle. It's big. We paid a 1st and a 3rd and a bunch of, and a huge amount of money to Hill. But the problem with us is, if you look across the league, receivers are moving. Some of them are long in the tooth, some not so long in the tooth, but they're moving. You see Cup being talked about, Deontay Johnson being talked about. When you look down the list, you're seeing Traylon Brooks, big 1st-round pick, he's being moved. Andre Cisco from the Jags, safety. Greg Newsome, cornerback from the Browns. They're just fire sailing. Even some people are saying Agba from the Dolphins. Uche from the Patriots, linebacker. And you see the Jags traded a low-end DT. You saw also, in a side is what I'm going to talk about, Lions, McDeal, he was signed for 4 years, $97 million. Cam Akers was moved. Reddick, they're not going all hog to pay him everything. They're trying to move him. But when you look, you don't see offensive linemen. The last offensive lineman that was traded was in like April. It was Nick Harris. He's a backup to Seattle, from the Browns, who went out and get Connor Williams. What I'm trying to say to you is that Chris Grier's 2 biggest needs is D-tackle and offensive line. Anywhere, center, guard, tackle. And it's not that he's not willing to go get it. They're not selling it. And if they're going to sell it, it's a lower tier guy and you're going to be paying an exorbitant amount. Why? Why is Crazy Curtis talking about the offensive line? Guys, we used to have 2-a-day hitting practice, and that created chemistry and reps for the offensive line. It allowed guys that weren't so good to get the chemistry, to get there, and to be better. Now you don't have that. And so the chemistry is not so much there. You need more talent in order to offset that, or you're going to have major issues. And I've said that the offensive line makes the NFL world go around. You see how Kansas City went hot and heavy on it. The Bills went hot and heavy. The Jets went hot and heavy. Pittsburgh went hot and heavy. Ravens, they're always going hot and heavy. They find guys all over the joint. They're really good. Rosengarten, 3rd round, and the left guard who's 6'8", 380, they got 3 years ago. Everybody that's really having success understands, like the rich man, they're not going to sell something valuable. Ask yourself, when's the last time that an awesome offensive lineman's been traded? The best offensive lineman I can remember being traded was Tunsil. And you got a Lions, haul for that. And I think it was smart. You could have used those picks, and we blew those picks. But you really, 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 especially at this time of the year, people are talking about Nelson from the Colts. You got a young rookie quarterback that you're trying to get to where he's going to be. Nelson's like 28. He's going into his prime. They're not getting rid of him. I can't see it. And if it is, it's going to be insane. 3 first-round picks. So, guys, you have to understand, receivers, they're important, but a lot of teams, the good teams like the Lions, they understand that D tackles and offensive linemen is the new cycle. Something I've been talking about for a few years. Pass balance. You got all these pass defenses. You run inside, and the run game is generated primarily by the offensive line. But then if you got a team that's going to do that, then you got to have guys on the other side to slow that down. That's why the Ravens are really, really good for the cycle. And even KC, they got Jones, who's one of the best in the league. They blitz. They got one of the best DCs with the blitzing. But then on offense, they got the best trio of interior linemen. And you do that so you can get your advantage. And so teams understand, too, that quarterbacks are expensive. You can't lose your quarterback. And so you got to protect them. And you don't want to spend big money on running backs. So how do you do that? You give them yards before contact, and then a lesser running back who you pay less can do better. The less yards before contact, the harder it is for the running backs. So I'm not talking about the offensive line. I say haven't. But the trend cycle is clear. People will part with just about anything except like an awesome middle linebacker, an awesome D tackle, unless they got 2 of them or they're fire sailing. Offensive linemen, quarterbacks. Teams will move off receivers. I mean, you've got the Rams are going to get rid of Kupp, who's unbelievable. But they draft the guys later that are in there and they can move off. You can scheme up ways. Look how the Chargers are doing with low-end receivers. Receivers are important, but they're like the final piece, and you don't always have to have 2 first rounds and one guy and the number 1 and the other guy and tons of picks. And this is where Grier made his mistake. He doesn't have the ammo. If he had went hot and heavy in the offensive line, he would have had a power piece to trade and move. He could have uplifted his running backs, these awesome running backs that he's drafted. He could have protected Tua, and he would have been able to move stuff off. You're going to have to kind of fire sale Hill if you want to move off him, because these guys are falling from trees. I mean, Devontae Adams is still good. Amari Cooper is still good. I mean, even find a guy like, what is his name? Deontay Johnson. So receivers are not what our regimes made it out to be. You can't live off of it. You can drive a team farther with a good offensive line and tight end and quarterback than you can great receivers and a quarterback in this new cycle era. And when you look across the league and you look across the seasons, you can see what these rich men are buying or selling to tell you what is truly valuable and what's hard to come by. Chris Grier might want to do whatever he can to save this season, to do the right thing, but he's not going to be able to find the pieces at D tackle or on offensive line. It's both. Offensive line is huge. I think it's 1A, but 1B is the D tackle spot. That's why a team like the Lions drafted guys later in the rounds for their receivers, but they're paying $25 million a year for McNeil. And then they got the huge guy from the Bengals. I can't remember his name right now. So the winning teams understand the value of the A gap, and then by extension the B gap as 1B. And so Chris Grier just can't go get what he needs. It's not available. The rich men won't sell it, no matter how much he wants to buy it. It's just not going to happen. So watch these trades, go back over the years and see how many awesome receivers have been moved. Look at Philly picking up Smith after Waddle, and then they got what's-his-face from the Titans. They're available. Tight end's not so much. It's really more important, I think, the tight end. It's a security blanket. It offers protection and attack. You can find guys a little bit later, but tight ends, rare in this league that can block and pass. Really rare. Quarterbacks, obviously super rare. offensive linemen and D tackles. And so I don't think Chris Grier can make his move. Don't kill him for not making a move because I don't think he can. So anyways, Curtis saying, guys, I'm going to make sure this audio is better, and I'm going to make sure that I get all my, camera stuff better, guys. You guys are the best, and I appreciate all you do. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with acebread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.